It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the entire universe this week, and it's a big week, perhaps the best week overall for 2024. We're going to have 11 comic books to talk about. No big subject to get into beforehand, and obviously we do have Drew from Drew's neck of the woods, from Indiana. How you doing, Drew?
Doing great, Wes. Yeah, this was arguably the best week we have had last year, if not before that. Just the most we've recommended in a very, very long time. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about these awesome comics.
And we have to talk about the big standout that I was not really sure what was going to happen, if it was going to be good, if it was going to be worth it. Certainly, there's a very high price tag to this, and it needs to be noted this is an $8 comic book. It's only 40 pages, but Aliens Vs Avengers #1 from Jonathan Hickman and Esad Ribic. I figured it would just be aliens arriving on Earth and Avengers fighting them, which would be perfectly fine. Jonathan Hickman decided to take a different route, go a little bit more complex with the storyline, and I think he really nailed it here this week, whereas with Wolverine Revenge, I thought he missed the mark just a tiny bit, and I really enjoyed this one.
What I expected is like what you expected. I expected to see in this issue the downfall of humanity, of the Earth, like city by city, heroes getting killed left and right. But it's done in a montage, and I was really hoping this would have been like book 1 of The Stand by Stephen King, Captain Trips, where you just see slowly the downfall of humanity. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I really wanted to see all of our heroes die. Some get chest bursters, whatnot, but we don't really get that, which, okay, I'll go with it. It's a different type of story he's telling. But yeah, the art by Esad Ribic is really damn good. It's told in the future, which there's a mysterious character in a wheelchair that we're not quite sure who it is. I have a couple ideas who it could be, but we're not sure who it is. I do like what they're building up in the following issues. Something very interesting happens to a certain wall crawler. Curious to see what happens with that. But yeah, he's created a very interesting story here. I'm very curious to see what happens in issue 2. Yeah, do check this out.
I believe the old man in the wheelchair is referred to as Old Man Wayland, likely of the Wayland-Yutani Corporation.
Okay, it is Wayland. I do know, like, a few of us were wondering if is it Wayland? Is it Xavier? Is it Captain America? Is it Tony Stark? If it's Wayland, it makes sense because they're in Wayland Tower. That
was really the standout for me. I didn't know what to expect, and I really thought Jonathan Hickman nailed that one. The art, obviously, was really, really good. Now let's go to the indie scene, because that's going to have most of the rest of our recommendations. I believe we have 8 of them. Nemesis Rogues Gallery #2, Mark Miller writing, Valerio Giordano on art here. Now we're not only getting our evil Batman, we're getting our evil Robin. Nemesis takes on a understudy. He goes down, breaks him out of prison. There's a great scene of him trying to break through bulletproof glass that I thought was absolutely hilarious. Lots of wanted feels in here, except they are condensed down into a montage. So he has a fully functional, operational sidekick to work with Nemesis to go and get all of his money back and start to try and take over the world again and fight against all those stupid heroes that are teaming up now.
I really enjoyed this issue. This was so much fun. I love the backstory of this, lack of a better term, this young Robin. And there's an interesting scene in this, Wes. I don't know if you noticed it. It's when it's by candlelight. It's when Nemesis is talking to the kid. He's like down in the cellar with the guns and everything. There's like a candle lit, and it's a similar pose that the two have. It's compared to what Batman and Robin have when Batman is like having Robin like recite an oath, swearing his allegiance to Batman and to vengeance. It's a very similar scene. And I do like what they're setting up there. And this kid, I'm very curious to see what path he goes down. And like, if there's going to be a twist with this, come on, there's going to be a twist with this. But like, when's the betrayal going to happen? Because I got a very strong feeling this kid's going to stab Nemesis in the back, but it's only a matter of when. But yeah, do check this out. Very fun read. The art is fantastic. Once again, I'm going to call out the eye work in this book. It's in the emotions, how they're drawn in this. Do check this out.
And there's a great ending to that little candlelight scene that you will not see coming, and leaves a look of distress on the young understudy's face, which you would completely understand. Grommets #4, Rick Remender, Brian Posehn writing, Brett Parson on art. This is a series I've been reading, but I haven't really been recommending because it's more of like a slice of life, coming of age, 80s skateboard culture kind of thing with lots of nostalgia built into it that I've been enjoying, but I didn't know if it was really great. I really think that Grommets #4 really took the next step for me. I think the art from Brett Parson is absolutely fantastic. And now we're getting a little bit more development on the character, keeps getting moved from place to place. His dad's going to move him again, and he's having a very rebellious moment. something that I can certainly recognize and empathize with, being a child of the 80s myself. And if you're looking for something that is a tribute to 80s culture and growing up as Gen X, I really do think that Grommets kind of hits the spot. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's a very good looking book. And like you said, Wes, this is a very different type of book that we don't usually recommend. Like you said, it is very much a slice of life book. And it is, like you said, in the 80s in California, it's got the skateboarder culture. And granted, I was born in the 80s. You know, I was born in 84. I wasn't born in California, unfortunately. And I am well aware of skateboarder culture. Growing up in Indiana, that really wasn't prevalent here. We all rode our bikes. And so reading a story about this in the 80s, like I couldn't really get to the skateboard stuff, but Escape from New York, yeah, I can relate to that. You know, I can relate to watching Escape from New York. But yeah, the kids they're interesting relationships. The dialogue is very believable. Hey, it's Rick Remender. So I'm I'm actually kind of interested in seeing where the relationships turn in the next issue, because I want to know if this kid's going to stay, the family going to leave, what's he going to do? It's an interesting read. It's a different type of recommendation. So don't expect anything big, high, and explosive. Expect a little slice of life from the 80s.
Absolutely. So that's something I've been enjoying, but I really do think a lot of people will really get it and appreciate it, especially if they're of our age. Next up, we've got The Last Mermaid #6, Derek Kirk Kim writing and illustrating. And this is much more of a visual treat than, you know, an engaging story when it comes to lots of narration and dialogue. There, quite frankly, isn't a ton of narration or dialogue in the book. We have a mermaid. She needs to get to the ocean. She's taken on like a sidekick that is really helping her out through. And they end up seeing what these cyborg mutants will end up doing to people if they get their hands on them. It's not very nice. They have to witness some pretty atrocious things. And then they realize these mutants are sitting on the water source that they're going to need to use to kind of revitalize her and clean up her water before they can actually get to the ocean. And it's just a visual treat, absolutely beautiful, all in widescreen. And it's like you're reading an anime is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, the art in this is very much a treat. I am enjoying it. And I can honestly, yeah, like you said, I can see this being an anime, you know, at some point in the future. I do love the relationship between the two, between the, you know, more or less the mermaid and the guy who's escorting her and keeping her safe. And I do love how she gives him like a little locket, you know, or sorry, spoiler alert, gives him something, you know, just as a kind of like a thank you just for him, and which reminds her of it's fun stuff. You know, they're building their relationship, building their trust. And how it ends, they make a decision that could cost them, you know, their lives by the end of this, to maybe help someone else who's in trouble. And so I do like these characters. They have great morals, and it's a very fun read. It's beautiful. Do check out The Last Mermaid.
That one's been a real surprise, but it's definitely something. It's a feast for the eyes. Also going to recommend The Sacrificers #11, Rick Remender writing, Andre Lima Arajal on the art. I believe this is the second issue he's taken over for Max Vermeer. And I had been getting a little bit frustrated with The Sacrificers that just started out so well. You know, trying to find that next story that it needs to get to continue on in the next chapter. And I think this is the issue that really does it, because we see the gods are furious. Luna is out there. They don't know where she is. They've lost a few gods because of this rebellion, essentially started by the pigeon, who we don't actually see in here, but we do see the pigeon's family. They're the ones that actually have Luna. And there's a really heartwarming moment. Luna is really connecting with Pigeon's little sister. His other brothers and sisters are gone. It's the only child that the mother and father have left anymore. And she's like, I want you to be my sister. And she kind of agrees to it. And then we find out the gods have done something so diabolical. Really heartbreaking stuff. I probably gave away too many spoilers on that one. This was a very well executed comic book, although I definitely can see the downgrade in art.
I do love the biblical feel of this issue. Like, it's a very Old Testament style story right here. You know, like, I do love the relationship between the daughter and Luna. And, you know, you really see that bond, you see them forming. And I love how Luna, she's eaten like a whole humble pie with what's happened to her from issue 1. And it's been fantastic. And you really she sees, you know, what the other life is like, and the other side, with people who aren't gods, what they live, what they go through. And by the end of this issue, yeah, it really does pull in the heartstrings what's going to happen. And I can't wait for the next issue. This is a fantastic series. Rick Remender, he's one of the best. This is one of the best indies out there right now. It's getting better. It's getting better. It had a little bit of a lull, but the art is taking a bit of a dip. But so it's in an interesting spot, but it's still a good read. Check out The Sacrificers.
Absolutely. That thing will absolutely rip your heart out, and it's what Rick Remender wanted to do because it's what he does. Moving over to something a little bit more lighthearted, TMNT Saturday Morning Adventure 16, Eric Burnham writing, Dan Schoening on art. And I just really love this series. And if you're a fan of the cartoon, this is the series for you. But we've got the Pantheon, Old Hobbs and Ratqueed and a bunch of other anthropomorphic characters they're holding them like a little pocket dimension, playing an alternate reality for them so they'll conform and they'll be able to control them. But Michelangelo was pulled right out of it and frees himself when he realizes his brothers don't like pizza and he knows this is not the real world. He's able to free his brothers and they're able to fight back. And this was just a lighthearted, fun, rip-roaring, good time Saturday morning adventures. Love this series.
Yeah, it's about to talk about the exact stark contrast compared to Sacrificers. This is the exact opposite of that. It's just, this is a fun, all ages story, with the TMNT. This is TMNT, for dads to have fun with their kids to enjoy. And you just see them, you see the turtles, just fighting the Pantheon in this, more or less, throughout most of the issue. And by the end of it, the Pantheon, they may have a certain someone who may have member who left them in the dust, who may be trying to seek a revenge in an upcoming issue. But we'll see what happens. You got to read to find out. Yeah, this is a very fun adventure series. Eric Burnham, he's one of the best. He's been at this a very long time. I hope he gets better gigs than IDW. Do check this out. This is a very fun read.
Definitely enjoying that series. Really enjoy that. Something else that I didn't realize was coming to an end, but this is the final issue. Nottingham 15, David is on writing, Shane Connery Volk on art. I've really bought into this different telling of the Robin Hood tale where the Sheriff of Nottingham is the actual hero of it, and he's in a terrible place. His people have turned on him. The allies that he did have are no longer there. Robin Hood and Maid Marian might have been making plans behind the scenes to basically double cross him. And he gets one final chance to maybe save the city. And he's given a terrible choice and he has to make it by the end. The art, once again, sings on this one. I've really enjoyed the entire series. And if you didn't read Nottingham, the trades are basically in 5-issue volumes out there. This will be the 3rd volume now that it's out, probably in a couple of months. Definitely go check out Nottingham. Really awesome, interesting take on the Robin Hood folklore, and also ties it up here at the end on why it's different.
Yeah, this is the best adaptation of Robin Hood in the last 30 years in any medium, and I highly encourage anyone and everyone to check this out. I don't want to spoil anything that happens in this book, but all I'm going to say is history is written by the victors, and I'll leave it at that. It has a very interesting ending. Do check this out, guys. I'm going to reciprocate everything that Wes just said. It is one of the best indie books right now. One of the best creative teams in indie books right now is Shane Connery Volk. He's got another book coming out, Prairie Gods, which is a very fun read. This is a series that's going to be remembered for a very long time. Do jump on in this while you can.
Absolutely. And David is now doing Kosher Mafia. Shane Connery Volk is doing Prairie Gods. So if you like those creators, they got new work all coming out basically at the same time as they move on from Nottingham. Really appreciated that series. Next up, we do have Savage Sword of Conan #4, Jim Zub, Patch Searcher, Ron Moores, and lots more. It's an anthology book, all in black and white. You get a lot of precursor stories to this Battle of the Blackstone event that's about to start. Lots of different characters. You're going to get Solomon Kane, Brissa, obviously Conan the Barbarian, and all that kind of stuff. Tying it into this, and you get lots of really cool pinups as well. Really fun time on that one, and it is, without a doubt, the best value in comics.
Oh, absolutely. This is pretty much a trade paperback in magazine size. And it's the introduction to the Blackstone. And you see all the characters, all the players are going to take a part in this. And each of the characters are different in their own way. Like my favorite one was El Borak, the very last story by Ron Mars and Mike Perkins. He's kind of like a new Indiana Jones. And there's another one with two guys. It's kind of very much like a Call for Cthulhu pulp story type feel to it. I highly encourage everyone check this out. What Jim Zub is building here is going to be epic, and it's going to be grand in scale. And I cannot wait to start reading this event. Do check out Savage Sword of Conan, guys. It is a lot of fun. It is every bang for your buck.
Definitely be checking that one out, and everything really from Titan and Jim Zub. Lots of fun to be had there. The event kicks off next week, and we'll definitely because I haven't read it, but most likely we'll be recommending it here next week. Final indie book that's recommended, Universal Monsters Frankenstein #1. Mike Walsh writing and illustrating on this one. I've checked out the first offerings from James Tynan and a few other writers. didn't really buy into the series. I wasn't told this one was spectacular, so I didn't read it, but it sounds like you really enjoyed Universal Monsters Frankenstein.
People who know my series, Unholy Nightmare, they know I love monsters and they know I love superheroes, but I love monsters more than anything else. And I love Universal monsters. And yeah, like you, Wes, I have checked out the prior Universal comic books that have come out by James Tiny Onion and Daniel Waters, the Dracula and Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they both sucked and blown. They've been not good at all. I don't care what anyone says, they are not good. Now this, I was hesitant on because I love Frankenstein. And I read this, and I was blown away by how emotionally gripped I was in this story, because it does take the original James Whale Frankenstein film with Boris Karloff, but it gives it from a new perspective, a new element introduced in this, a small child who's at the grave when Frankenstein is in with Fritz digging up the bodies. And this kid's father is dug up as well. And let's just say the father of this child, he may or may not have been a part of what happened with Frankenstein. And it pulls in your heartstrings when you see what happens at Frankenstein's lab. And it's very, very good. This will blow you away. If you're like me and you were very underwhelmed by the other two books, which sucked, this is the one where they succeeded. And this is written and illustrated by the guy who did Silvercoin. If you like Silvercoin, you're gonna love this. If you like Frankenstein, you're gonna love this. Do check this out. This is one of my highest recommendations this week. Frankenstein is back.
And indies are back. They basically took up all of our recommendations. It was so good this week. But we do have a couple more big two comic books to get through. For Marvel, Venom War, Zombiotes, #1, Kevin Scott writing, Juan Jose Reap on art. I personally have fully checked out of Venom War. I tried to read the prelude, and I tried to read the first issue. It just never got me. So I'm not really reading even any of the tie-ins to this, even if they have a good artist on it. But I know that you really enjoyed this one.
So like you, Wes, I'm not reading the others. I'm checked out on it. But the reason why I was invested in this one is Juan Jose Reap. He's my boy. He's doing the cover for Aaron Sparrow and I for our Kneel Before Doomface and Unholy Nightmare cover for New York Comic Con. This is his swan song of Marvel Comics. After this, he's done with Marvel. And you look at the art in this, what he has done with the symbiotes, the concept of the symbiotes, this is what I've always wanted. What Cullen Bunn has done in the past, he's just very milquetoast bullshit stuff with the symbiotes where it's like, hi, I'm Captain America. I have a symbiote now. I'm Wolverine. I have a symbiote now. Nothing changes, blah, blah, blah. No, here the symbiotes are treated like the Blob. They're treated like an actual monster. When you see the symbiotes take over people, it is horrific. It is like watching the Blob from the 1980s. It's like, what the hell is going on here? It is so nasty, horrific. This is what the symbiotes should be. And it's everything I love. And this is arguably some of the best work of Juan Jose Reap's career. He is swinging for the fences and he is nailing it. He is a true cartoonist through and through. If you want to see a true, beautiful horror story in the Marvel Comics that's drawn beautifully, check out this issue. It is amazing. It will blow your mind how horrific this is.
Drew, how could you call yourself a horror fan and say the 1980s Blob? Everyone knows the 1950s Blob is the only Blob movie that matters.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I'm going to say in every way, shape, or form, the remake by Chuck Russell is fantastic. It is arguably one of the greatest horror films ever made. There is no argument there. It is one of the best, one of the greatest.
Absolutely ridiculous text by Drew there, but we do have one final book to recommend.
Okay, if you're watching, if everyone's watching out there, say in the comments which is better, the 1980s remake, which it is, or the one with Steve McQueen in the 50s. Well, let's see what the viewers say.
My viewers have the best taste in the world. They're obviously going to take the 50s Blob movie because it's the one
1980s. Oh,
no,
or not.
We have one final book to recommend: DC Comics Batman Offworld #5, Jason Aaron writing, Doug Mankey on art. We hadn't seen this title, I believe, in 8 months or something like that. I'd actually forgotten where we left off, but I was quickly reminded the Theta Garian facing off with Batman in space. It's absolutely epic and hilarious, and there's great stuff going on there. Punchbot elevates himself up to Warbot status, and we do learn a little bit more information about the Black Sun twins. And I missed this series. I don't know why they took such a long break in there. This one was worth waiting for. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
Regardless, yeah, it picks up right where it left off. It is action-packed. It is a full-on slobber knocker between the Thanagarian and Batman, and one of them goes down. I'm not going to say who. But what's also interesting is that we see the effect that Batman has had in this galaxy. specifically on a certain planet, what happened to the population of this planet because of the appearance of Batman. And let's just say it's not good. And let's just say certain character may start to realize he isn't over his head. Maybe he shouldn't be doing this in the first place. It is, and there's a unique twist by the end of this too. I didn't really quite see the twist of that coming with a certain character, but I'm all in on the next issue. It's still damn good, still a very fun read. One of the few things Jason Aaron is actually doing right. So if you want to see Jason Aaron when he's not screwing up, check out Batman Offworld, guys. It'll shock you.
And we are supposed to get issue number 6 in September. Hopefully that does pan out in the end, because I would like to see the end of that adventure. And I do want to say thank you very much to Drew for joining me today to talk about the very best of the week. We had so many comic books to talk about. It was a fantastic week. If you would like something like this, but bigger, and you want to support me and what we're doing here on Think Critical YouTube, if you head over to the Patreon, Jim and I do a Hot or Not podcast every single week, talking about everything from Marvel, DC, and Indies. And it's not just the good stuff or the bad stuff. It's all of it. If you haven't checked that out and you're interested, there's a link in the video description. It's on the Doc is Right tier.